Welcome back, everybody. Today we're tackling a creature that, well, it almost seems too fantastical to be real.
Yeah.
The maned wolf. I mean, honestly, when I saw your research notes for this one,
hmm
I knew we were in for a treat. Striking, enigmatic.
hmm
You weren't kidding.
Right.
You seem like you're pretty fascinated by this animal, too.
Oh, absolutely, and with good reason. This animal, it really is unique.
Yeah.
I mean, it's called a wolf.
Right.
It has the reddish coat that you think of when you think of a fox.
Yeah.
But genetically, it's just something else entirely.
Yeah, that's what I thought was so cool. It really is like nature's design a creature challenge.
Yeah.
Went a little haywire. I mean, we're talking long legs,
Mm.
this fiery coat,
Mm-hmm.
and then bam,
Mm.
black mane that just stands on end when it's threatened.
Exactly.
Like what?
Yeah, it's like someone spliced together like 3 different blueprints
Yep.
and said, you know what, that'll work.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
It's all about adaptation, though, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you have those long legs.
Those long legs are perfect for navigating the tall grasses where they live. That's the Cerrado biome.
Cerrado biome.
Yeah, so think about South America, a big savanna, grasslands, and scattered shrubs, woodlands stretches across multiple countries.
Wow.
That's where you find the maned wolf.
So it's almost like they evolved to see over all that grass.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a fox on stilts.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you mentioned in your notes, I was surprised they eat reptiles. So that kind of ties into their being omnivores.
Exactly. Not strictly carnivores.
Yes.
Small mammals, reptiles, insects.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
And then they also really love fruit,
Yeah.
and particularly a fruit called the wolf apple.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you about. When I saw wolf apple in your notes, I was like, what is this? Some kind of fantasy fruit?
Right.
It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
It's pretty important for the maned wolf, though.
It is, and one of the things that you highlighted was a study that was done on germination and how the wolf apple seeds actually germinate twice as effectively after passing through a maned wolf's gut.
So it's almost like a,
Mutually beneficial.
yeah, mutually beneficial relationship. That's wild.
Yeah.
So they're not just snacking.
No.
They're actually helping this plant thrive
Absolutely.
and disperse.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But here's what gets me, though. They do all this solo.
Yeah.
Mostly solitary creatures.
They are mostly solitary.
It's not like the pack-hunting wolves we're used to seeing.
No. They maintain these big home ranges.
Right.
And while they do form monogamous pairs, they tend to hunt alone, really relying on their hearing,
Wow.
which is exceptional to locate their prey.
So those big ears aren't just for show.
No.
Like they evolve their own sonar
Yeah.
for that vast Cerrado. But what about, do they at least team up for parenting?
That's what's interesting because unlike some other canidids, where, the dad maybe has a limited role, both maned wolf parents actually contribute to raising their young. Typically, a litter of like 2 to 5 pups are born between April and June.
Okay. I was reading about this, actually, and it seems like maned wolf dads are very hands-on.
They are.
That's not at all what I expected. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, the mother obviously is really central.
Right.
But the father helps to protect and provide for the pups. And that's really important for their survival.
I can imagine.
Especially in such a challenging environment.
It takes a village even for solitary creatures.
Yeah.
So we've got these adaptable canids roaming the Cerrado.
Right.
But I know you flagged their conservation status in your research. And the IUCN, they list the maned wolf as near threatened.
Yes.
So what does that mean in real terms for this animal?
It means they're facing a real possibility of becoming endangered.
Oh, wow.
In the near future. And one of the articles you highlighted talked about habitat loss as being a primary threat. Expanding agriculture, deforestation, road construction. All these things are fragmenting their habitat. So there's less space available.
Makes sense.
And it increases the chance of conflict with humans.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine this creature facing such serious threats.
Yeah. I mean, on top of that, there's the issue of disease, right?
Yeah.
What are the main concerns there?
So this raises an important question about wild lice and domestic animals and how they interact. One of the biggest threats actually comes from diseases that are spread by domestic dogs, particularly things like canine distemper and rabies.
And they haven't really developed the immunity.
They haven't developed the same immunity.
So those diseases can be really devastating.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's like human actions are impacting them in multiple ways.
It is.
Are there any conservation efforts going on to combat all of this?
There are. Many of them are focusing on habitat protection. Preserving those really crucial areas.
Of the Cerrado, where these animals can thrive,
Right.
there's also a big push for research.
Yeah.
To really understand their behaviors and the most effective ways to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just the really essential work of education.
Right. Changing those attitudes and behaviors.
Exactly.
Wow. It sounds like a lot of work is being done.
Yeah.
But there's a long way to go.
It's a long road ahead.
This beautiful, adaptable, and unfortunately vulnerable creature needs our help. And it looks like you've been doing your homework to understand it.
I try.
I did notice, though, you had something in your notes about their diet that I thought was really interesting. You specifically called out the wolf apple and how important it is.
It's not just a tasty snack for them. It's a key part of their diet.
Okay.
And there's some thought that it actually helps them with digestion and parasite control.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's research being done looking at some of the compounds in the wolf apple and seeing if there are medicinal benefits.
Wow, so it's like a natural pharmacy built into their diet.
Exactly.
Yeah, unique adaptations for a unique environment. What happens when the young maned wolves grow up? Do they stick around?
No.
Or do they head out on their own?
They're destined for that solitary life.
Yeah.
Once they reach a certain age, they're going to leave the den and go establish their own territory.
It's kind of sad to see them go.
It is a little bittersweet.
Yeah.
But, that's nature's way.
Yeah, nature's way for this unique creature. Speaking of unique, you had something in your notes about their navigation.
Yes.
You said geomagnetic navigation.
So there's this theory.
What is that? I mean, break that down for me.
Yeah, so the theory is that they might actually be able to sense the Earth's magnetic field and use it to orient themselves.
Are you saying they have like an internal GPS?
It might sound far-fetched.
It does.
But this has been observed in other animals, birds, sea turtles. Researchers believe that maned wolves may have special cells that allow them to detect magnetic fields.
Wow.
Like a compass.
So they're not just traversing the Cerrado.
Yep.
They're practically surfing on magnetic waves.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Speaking of navigating, though, you had something else flagged in your notes about their behavior, their vocalizations. What makes them so unique?
They definitely are unique. I mean, they don't just howl like a wolf.
Right.
They don't just bark like a dog. They have this whole repertoire of sounds that researchers have described as everything from a roar to a cough to a high-pitched whistle.
That is a diverse range.
Yeah.
Do we know what they mean? What are they trying to communicate?
That's the fascinating part. We're not entirely sure.
Oh, come on.
Some researchers think that the roar-like call, which often happens at dusk, is a way of communicating over long distances, maybe to establish territory or attract mates.
So it's like their own social media.
Yeah.
Broadcasting their presence.
Exactly.
And what about the others, the coughs and the whistles?
Those may be for shorter range communication.
Okay.
Alarm signals or to maintain contact with a mate or offspring.
That's fascinating. We still have so much to learn.
Absolutely.
About these creatures.
Yeah.
And their way of communicating. That's just one piece of the puzzle, right?
It is.
And I'm curious to dig into some of the other mysteries surrounding the maned wolf.
Oh, let's do it.
And I think a great place to start is with their cultural significance.
Sounds good to me.
You had a lot of notes about how the maned wolf features in the folklore and mythology of indigenous cultures in South America.
Right.
So I'd love to hear more about that.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in the scientific facts and figures. But we can't forget that they hold a special place in the hearts and minds of the people who share their habitat.
Right. And I think that's really important when you're thinking about conservation.
Absolutely. So tell me, what did you find most interesting about that?
Well, the recurring theme of the maned wolf as this bridge between the natural and spiritual worlds.
Oh, wow.
It's often seen as a symbol of wisdom, cunning, a protector of the balance of nature.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So when you think about it, conservation isn't just about science.
No.
It's also about people and culture.
Right.
And about creating a vision for a future where humans and wildlife can thrive together.
And that takes engaging with the local communities.
It does.
And respecting their knowledge and traditions.
Absolutely.
It's about finding those win-win solutions.
Yeah.
Right.
Finding solutions that benefit both people and wildlife.
and create a more harmonious relationship between us.
Exactly.
That's a powerful message.
It is. It really is about understanding that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And the well-being of one species is linked to the well-being of all.
Mm-hmm. And, you brought up a great example of this in your research. You were talking about programs that are working with local farmers to create wildlife corridors.
Yes. These programs are helping farmers create pathways through their land.
Okay.
So they're connecting these fragmented habitats, and it allows the maned wolves to move more freely.
So it's like a win-win.
It is a win-win.
The farmers benefit.
They benefit from reduced crop damage.
Okay.
And the maned wolves have more space to roam and find food.
That's a great example of how conservation can be practical and beneficial for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
It's not about restrictions. It's about finding solutions that work.
Yeah.
I mean, shifting gears a bit, though, there's one thing we haven't touched on that I think is really important. Climate change.
Yeah.
I know you had a question mark next to it in your notes.
It's a big one, right?
What are your thoughts on how this might impact the maned wolf?
It's a crucial question because climate change is a threat multiplier.
So it makes all the existing threats, like habitat loss and disease, even worse.
It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
How could these changes directly affect the maned wolf?
Well, I mean, think about it. Changes in rainfall could impact the availability of plants and fruits.
Makes sense.
Which is a huge part of their diet.
Right, including the wolf apple.
Exactly. And then we could see an increase in wildfires, which would further fragment their habitat.
So it just makes it harder and harder for them.
It does.
That's a pretty sobering thought.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we can't just focus on protecting individual species.
No, we have to address the bigger picture.
Yeah, like climate change.
Exactly. It's about the root causes of biodiversity loss.
Well said. You know, as we're talking, I keep coming back to something you mentioned earlier, the whole seed disperser thing.
Yeah.
We talked about the wolf apple, but I'm curious about like the mechanics of it all. And you had a little note in your research.
That said, poop analysis.
They are?
Hold on. Are you telling me scientists are studying maned wolf poop?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a goldmine of information.
Really?
You can learn about their diet, their health, their movements.
So it's not just about what they eat.
No.
It's about where they go and what they leave behind.
Precisely. And because they eat so much fruit, their scat is packed with seeds, and they're essentially planting those seeds.
It's like they have a built-in fertilizer system.
Exactly. And that's how the wolf apple thrives.
So the maned wolf relies on the wolf apple.
Yeah.
And then it returns the favor.
It does.
It all comes full circle. It really is a beautiful example of how connected things are in nature.
It is.
But speaking of connections, you also highlighted something in your research about potential conflict between maned wolves and humans.
Yeah.
What did you find so concerning about that?
I think what really got to me was just seeing how human activities are encroaching more and more into maned wolf habitat. It's a problem.
As we expand agriculture and build roads, it's like we're fragmenting their territory.
It forces them into closer contact with humans.
Exactly.
Which can lead to conflict.
Yeah, because even though maned wolves are generally pretty shy.
They are?
And elusive.
Right. But they can be seen as a threat to livestock or even to people.
And that can lead to some unfortunate consequences.
It can, like retaliatory killings or increased transmission of disease.
It's really sad these creatures are being pushed into a corner.
It's true.
It's up to us to figure out how to live peacefully.
I agree. Finding ways to mitigate those conflicts. Educating people about the maned wolf's importance. Implementing strategies that protect both people and wildlife.
It all comes back to community engagement, right?
It does.
Working with the people who live alongside these creatures.
Absolutely.
To find solutions that actually work.
It's about building bridges, fostering understanding. Creating a future where they can both thrive.
Yeah, it really is about understanding that connection. You know, it's not just about saving one species. It's about the whole ecosystem and
the bigger picture.
Yeah, and the culture and everything. But before we get too philosophical, there's one more thing I got to ask you about. You had a little